Everybody, my name is Alex Ariano, and today I'm here to teach you about brewing beer at home. This is my audience. Howdy. Hello. Let's get this show on the road. Gentlemen, brewing beer is a very ancient art form. It's been around for thousands of years, and it's easy to do at home, and it's been done for generations. Dating back to the ancient Mesopotamians nearly 10,000 years ago, with the first beer recipe carved in stone. But don't be intimidated because you don't have to be a mad scientist to know what you're doing at home. I know it may seem intimidating at times when you see the hipsters coming in with their beards, facial hair, knowing what's going on and smelling and telling you all these different things about beers, dissecting them. But don't worry, it's not that complicated. It's pretty simple. Very simple. All you need is a key items from you can buy in your household stores, and a few ingredients you can get at any brew store. Here are the equipment. You don't need multi-million-dollar pieces of equipment to brew either. You go to your industrial brewery, you're going to see a lot of big containers that fermenters, boilers, anything you want. You don't need it. All you need is a few basic things: a fermenter, stock pot, propane and a propane burner, maybe a recipe or two. Then you're also going to need an airlock. It's going to keep your beer nice and safe from the oxygen. You want to keep it in darkness. You're going to need sanitizers such as Star San. There's many ways to sanitize. I use Star San. It's simple, one easy shot. You don't have to wash it. You don't have to rinse and repeat over and over again. One shot and you're done. You're also going to need a temperature gauge or a thermometer, basic kitchen thermometer to measure heat of your wort or raw beer. And then you're going to need your ingredients. I found some ingredients and some recipes out of these three books: The Clone Brews, Brewing Classic Styles, and Home Beer Making. Brewing Classic Styles, written by Jamil Zanishev, lists that all good beers started in somebody's home, with local ingredients, local water, and local methods. Those are the ingredients: hops. Hops are a European flower that has been brought to America to bitter beer and give it different flavors. Many different types of hops in the world, but for one of the recipes I like to make is out of the Clone Brews is the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale recipe, which calls for maybe an ounce of hops for a 5-gallon batch. Very simple to get at a local homebrew store. Then you have your grains. Your grains are what's going to be broken down into sugars in order to produce food for yeast nutrient, which we'll get into later. So that way the yeast will eat the sugars and break them down and turn them into alcohol and carbonation. You also have your yeast. Many different styles of yeast. You have liquid, dry, and different companies varying how many cells you're going to get. Some brag about 1 billion, some brag about 2 billion cells. And most important ingredient of all is water. Make sure you have good water. Hose water does not work for beer. I've been there, I've done that. Your beer will just taste like hose water. The process. The process is very simple. It relates mostly to making tea, which you have to wait about 2-4 weeks to drink. The method I use is called the brew-in-a-bag method. Brew-in-a-bag method is very simple. All it calls for is a nylon mesh bag and your stock pot. I tend to brew 5-gallon batches of beer, which means I'm going to use a 10-gallon stock pot to brew with. So that way I have enough water for all my grains and my other ingredients to go into without overflowing. You're then going to steep your grains at about 152 degrees Fahrenheit, standard for most beers, for about an hour. Simply pull the grain bag out of your steam kettle, let it drain for about 10 minutes, and then begin to boil your beer. After you're done boiling your beer, you're going to want to cool your beer off. That's where your chiller comes into play. There's many different ways to chill beer. I prefer to use a chiller because it knocks down chilling time to about 15 to 20 minutes. After you're done chilling, you're going to pitch or put your yeast inside of your beer. This is going to start the yeast will begin to eat up all the sugars that you've broken down from those grains and begin to turn them into alcohol. Your airlock's going to come into play. As the yeast is eating all the sugars, they're going to create alcohol and CO2. And one of the biggest things you want to keep out of your beer is oxygen. Oxygen will basically degrade beer in a way that you don't want to and give you very nasty flavors that you don't want in beer at all. So what's going to happen, your lid's going to be shut, your CO2 and anything else that's in it is going to shoot out of it. However, the airlock's going to keep all the air and all the gases coming out with nothing going in. Here, you see what sugar does, what yeast does. Eats the sugars and then makes it into energy, carbon dioxide, and alcohol. Kegging and bottling. Remember, in fermentation, storing in cool temperatures is very, very important. Beer hates sunlight and beer hates oxygen. So when you bottle or keg, once you're done, you're going to want to keep your bottles and your kegs into nice, cool, dark temperatures. If you're bottling, you're going to wait another 2 weeks for the active yeast inside of your beer that's still there mixed with a little bit of sugar to naturally carbonate your bottles, or you can force carbonate your bottles. You can force carbonate your keg. Once again, sunlight kills beer and so does oxygen. Keep them both out. And then enjoy beer. At the end of your 2 to 4 weeks, you're going to come out with nice, fresh, golden beer for all to enjoy and for all to love. Thank you very much.